I can tell what kind of Jeep owner you are in about 30 seconds, just by how you pick your line. I've watched fully built rigs, 37s, lockers, front rear, 4 inches of lift, struggle on obstacles that a near stock Jeep just drove right through. No drama, no spinning, no chaos. It's not because one Jeep is better than the other. It's because of a decision that gets made before the tires even start turning. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Most people think capability comes from parts. Lifts, tires, lockers, sway bar disconnects, and yeah, that stuff obviously helps. But if you don't understand line choice, you're just making the trail harder than it actually is. You're blaming your Jeep for something your eyes didn't do. Trail isn't the problem, the build isn't the problem. The decision you made 3 seconds before you touched the throttle, that's the problem. Most people drive straight at obstacles. They see a rock, they point their Jeep at it, and they go. And what this does is it loads everything at once. Both tires, your suspension, your undercarriage, your driveline. Every shock absorber in your rig is taking a hit at the same moment. And that's how you get stuck. That's how you start scraping. And that's how guys convince themselves they need another 2 inches of lift when what they actually needed was 30 more seconds of looking. I've seen people spend thousands of dollars to solve a problem that a 30-second walk around would have fixed for free. So, what are you supposed to do instead? Now look, before we get into it, drop me a comment and tell me the last upgrade you bought, hoping it would fix something on the trail. I want to know if the part actually solved it, or if the real problem was the decision you made before you hit the gas. Alright, so step 1, you got to get out of your Jeep. It sounds basic, but if you're still in the driver's seat, you're guessing. You can't see your tires, you can't see your diffs, you can't see what's about to hit your rock panel. Walk the obstacle, and here's what you're actually looking for. High points, where your tires can sit up instead of dropping in. Low spots, where your undercarriage might catch on stuff. Anything sharp that could actually puncture a sidewall or damage your Jeep. Loose rocks, something that might be hiding under leaves. And always check the exit, because where you come out of an obstacle matters just as much as how you entered it. Once you see it from the outside, you stop reacting to the trail and you start reading it. That's the difference between a driver and a passenger behind the wheel. Now that you've seen it, you got to figure out where your tires are going to go. I hate to say it, but this is where most people get it wrong. And the only reason I know that is because I used to have this problem. Your tires are absolutely everything. Where they go determines what your Jeep does. Put your tires on the high points when you can. Avoid dropping both tires into the holes at the same time. And think about what your axles and underbody are doing, not just your tires. Here's a simple way to think about it. Your Jeep has a width. You need to use it. If both tires are on high points, your undercarriage is going to clear. If both tires drop into a hole, there's a good chance your diff is going to hit something next. But there's another piece that most people miss. Your axles want to flex. And that's what your suspension is built to do. If you put one tire high and one tire low, your axle articulates to keep all 4 tires on the ground. You got to use this to your advantage. You got to allow your suspension to work. You got to allow the low points to become high points and help clearing your undercarriage and the parts beneath it. Especially when you're just approaching an obstacle, if you put both your tires up high or both of them low at the same time, you're fighting your suspension instead of using it. That offset can be your friend. Symmetry can sometimes be your enemy. And remember, the Jeep didn't pick the line, you did. But even if you place your tires right, you can still make the obstacle harder than it needs to be. Remember, we're not trying to conquer the obstacle, we're trying to make it easier. The whole goal here is to stagger your impact, don't stack it. Every obstacle wants to hit your Jeep all at once. Your job is to break that into smaller pieces. And here's what this looks like. Picture an edge across the trail. Maybe a foot tall, it spans the whole width. Most guys will square it up and drive straight at it. Both front tires hit the ledge at the exact same second. That's a big impact. Your hood pitches up, your front end slams down, your rear tires repeat the same hit just a couple seconds later. That is a stacked impact. Now let's take that same ledge and approach it at a slight angle. One front tire climbs it, then the other one, then one of the rears, then the final one. Same ledge, same height, 4 small movements instead of 2 big ones. Your Jeep stays calm, your suspension does the work, nothing slams. Now that's a staggered impact. And this works on ledges, on logs, it works on roots, it works on anything that you can span your whole tires with. This also indirectly helps increase your approach angle. If your Jeep is bouncing, pitching, or slamming, you stack the hit. If it feels controlled and predictable, you staggered it. A good line feels smooth. If it feels violent, back up and look again. Now look, even when you do everything right, you're still going to mess this up sometimes. And that's okay. Because ultimately, you're driving a multi-thousand-pound machine and trying to have it do exactly what you want to do, and there's so many factors that keep you in one place. By the way, Off the Grid Surplus makes gear that actually holds up when things get real on and off the trail. So if you're building your setup or about to head out on an adventure, this is a great place to start. Check them out through the link in my bio. This is where rock sliders become your friend. First, yeah, they protect your Jeep. That's a baseline. But they're not called rock protectors. They're called sliders for a reason. You can actually use them. Lean into a rock, pivot off one, let the Jeep slide through instead of just hanging up. Without sliders, you're going to get stuck and likely damage. With sliders, you're going to move. There's a difference between using them intentionally and ending up on them by accident. Intentional means you saw the line, you knew you were going to contact it, and you chose the slider as a pivot point. Accidentally means you didn't see it and the rock came up and your slider saved your rocker panel because you got lucky. If every obstacle turns into a slider hit, you maybe didn't pick a good line. You just got bailed out by your build. And ultimately, I guess that's why they're there. But here's the long-term cost of that habit. You stop developing the eye. You stop reading terrain. You start trusting steel instead of your own judgment. And one day, when you wheel a rig without sliders or significant amount of protection on a harder trail, you've got nothing to fall back on. Sliders are a tool, not a substitute for skill. And even once you pick the right line, there's one thing that'll throw you completely off. Hold up, quick check-in. Where are you at with your build right now? Still running close to stock, figuring out what you actually need, or deep into a build and starting to realize the driver matters more than the parts? Tell me in the comments, I read them, because the advice I give you is different depending on where you're standing, and I want to make sure the next video hits the right group. Anyway, when you understand line choice, everything gets easier. Not because the trail changed, because you did. Less scraping, less getting stuck, less relying on upgrades to fix bad decisions. The guys with the most capable rigs out there aren't the guys with the biggest builds. They're the guys who learned to see the trail before they drove it. That's a shift. That's the unlock. By the way, if you're trying to build your Jeep right now without wasting money on parts that were never going to fix the real problem, start with the Cost Control Playbook. It's in the description. It's free and it gets you access to a new community I just launched. And it'll save you a lot more than it costs you. Anyway, if I could leave you with one thing from this video, it's take your time, be patient, get out and practice. But more importantly, take your time to plan your moves when things actually get technical. Before we go, I want to leave you with one more vital component. Staying on your line comes down to how you use your throttle. Too much, you're going to bounce off. Too little, you lose momentum and stall out halfway up. The right foot is the most overlooked piece of off-road driving. You can pick the perfect line, place your tires perfectly, and still blow it because your throttle was wrong. Here's the rule. Slow as possible, fast as necessary. Crawl until you can't, and then add just enough to keep moving. But I want to talk more about that the next time around, so consider subscribing if you don't want to miss that when it comes out. If you found this video helpful, be sure to check this one out right here. Thanks for stopping by, Rome Nation. I'll see you on the next one.